Schools, as we understand them, have existed in Australia for more than 200 years, beginning in New South Wales and expanding across the country as other settlements began. Public school systems did not begin until considerably later than this, beginning with primary level schools, then expanding into the secondary area beginning in the 1880s. Universities first arose in the middle of the 19th century, with early childhood education in the form of kindergartens and preschools lagging well behind all other sectors. Much of the information relating to the history of education in this country is held by states and national archives, rather than by education systems, though interestingly, many individual schools are now becoming more attuned to maintaining their histories than was the case previously. There are two main types of schools in Australia: public school and private school. For public schools, students usually need to live within the school zones to be accepted by schools. Public schools are 90% co-ed schools with affordable school fees. In terms of private schools, most of them are boys or girls schools, but with high school fees. Some of the private schools have set selecting exams for students to be accepted, and they just need to pay partial of the school fees. In the future, with the increase of the population, there will be more fierce competition for students to be accepted in good public schools and private schools. Now, students in Australia face the situation that they have to enroll as early as soon at schools. Otherwise, there will be not enough places to fill them in. This means that students will study even harder, and the parents need to build up solid financial foundation to support their children to study in good schools and universities. From the 1960s to 1980s, students in Australia have little sense of politics, which can be seen from the fact that geography and history had become selective subjects. At that time, based on the surveys, 60% of the students from 4 high schools in Brisbane did not know any names of the Commonwealth houses. 10% of the students from high schools in Brisbane did not know that which house does president or leaders of opposition belongs to. However, the government gradually has realized the importance of the education of politics. In the 1980s, politics has become a compulsory subject for students in Australia to take, and especially for students in Victoria, they must take politics and law as VCE subjects. The result of the revolution of education for politics is apparently positive for students' political sciences. Based on my observation, students have their own views towards different leaders and parties. Follow the leaders' actions and decisions, so they always comment on what they do not agree to and even be on march to express their protest. This is really democratic, and it builds the country on the basis of all the citizens' help and wills, which will help the development of the country more powerfully. From education is one of the main economic incomes for Australia, because there are a great amount of overseas students coming to Australia to study every year. Starting from year 2014, some universities in Australia agreed to accept students by using their overseas academic results of high schools. Besides, high schools in Australia start to accept pupil graduates to begin their Year 7 study in Australian high schools. Obviously, overseas students enjoy much higher school fees than local students. At the same time, parents of those overseas students also come to Australia, so their expense will increase the income and tax of Australia. As a teacher in Australia, the work is hard and tiring. So teachers' salary is always a controversial topic. Teachers' salary increase at a steady rate every year, and the government also promised to increase teachers' salary at a large scale. But the promise has failed in the end, which caused the teachers from public schools to stop working and be on march for complaint. In the near future, there will be more and more overseas students coming to Australia to study, and the pressure for schools and teachers will be overwhelming. This means that the country will gain more money, and at the same time, the expense on education will increase as well. In order to make the balance, the education system will enhance its quality and provide students with high-level teaching and advanced technology systems, which will attract more students in and abroad Australia. Australia has a vast territory and few people, so schools in Australia usually have spacious campus. No matter public schools or private schools, they all own nice environment on campus and advanced technology facilities. The view of private schools' campus is even more beautiful, like a garden. Some of the schools are located by the sea, and the whole campus is covered by green color. Almost every classroom is facilitated with a computer, overhead projector, and other advanced facilities. Schools in Australia intend to operate more activities, such as meeting exchange students from sister schools and overseas trips to live in the local families to learn the languages and cultures. This is really beneficial to students' development concerning all the aspects, especially for students' future career and relationships with peers around them.